Welcome to Top Tier Wrestling, your ultimate destination for all things AEW and WWE. Whether you're a hardcore wrestling fanatic or just a casual viewer, we've got you covered with the latest news, in-depth show reviews, and our unfiltered opinions on everything happening in the world of professional wrestling. Join us as we dive into the high-octane action, dramatic storylines, and backstage buzz of AEW and WWE. Get ready to step into the ring with us and stay on top of the wrestling world. This is Top Tier Wrestling. Welcome to Top Tier Wrestling. I'm your host, Josh, with my lovely co-host, Dawn. Let's go.
Hello.
All right, so a lot of things happened over the weekend in the world of AEW and WWE, but let's take a look at the events of Smackdown. Now, overall, I felt like Smackdown was pretty good. However, I know for me personally, and this might be jumping the gun a bit, but I felt like the Bloodline and the moving forward of the Bloodline story, I don't know if I should say could have, but maybe I wish had moved on a little further. I feel like we waited for Roman Reigns for so long, and he came back like the last two Smackdowns, and so that ties into how the story began, or Smackdown rather began, with Cody Rhodes coming out and his match with Kevin Owens. I mean, it was a good enough match. It didn't really do anything for me. So him coming out and talking more about that wasn't super interesting. It got interesting when he called out the Bloodline. And what was particularly interesting about that opening segment was when Solo was basically complaining that Roman Reigns cost him his title shot and he deserves another one. And Cody was like, somebody definitely does deserve another one, but I'm not talking to you, Solo. And he tries to get Jacob Fatu to turn on Solo Sikoa. And I feel like they're sort of earmarking that there might be a betrayal there, maybe. Because we've already seen where Jacob wasn't thrilled with having, the tag title stripped off of him and given to, I think it's Tonga Loa. And now, he's being asked to back off of a championship shot, which, I don't think he would beat Cody Rhodes, but I definitely think he's doing as well or better than Solo Sikoa could.
I agree. I kind of feel like the Bloodline storyline is stagnant once again. And I think I'm saying what you just said.
Mm-hmm. Although I think you may have just said it better and more succinctly.
I'm ready for this to progress. This is a years long situation that just keeps getting crazier and crazier. And at this point, they gave us Roman. He comes out, he dominates like once or twice, and then he gets beat up, and now he's gone. There's no Jimmy. There's no there's no movement whatsoever.
No, not even a peep from Paul Heyman.
Yeah, not even a peep from Paul Heyman. Like, where's the wise man? Although, honestly, the bump he took, he probably is out for a minute, and I would not blame him. But it's something. I mean, I'm ready for Jimmy now. Like, where is Jimmy? I'm ready for something. When Cody came out and he calls out Solo comes out. Solo talks his noise, and then he's about to offer, or Solo demands a rematch because of Roman. Cody does his thing where he's trying to get Jacob Fatu to do the match instead of Solo. And I mean, I guess that was interesting, but it was also like I knew he wasn't gonna pick it, or I knew he wasn't gonna take it because the only thing Jacob Fatu has said since he's come to WWE has been what? I know you.
I
That's
love you,
it.
Solo.
It's,
You're my tribal
I
chief.
love you, Solo. So yeah, I don't see him going. Oh, okay. I don't see him taking that. So it's kind of like, meh. I knew he wasn't gonna take it. And the audience, honestly, they heard that, and I, I couldn't really tell what the reaction was, but I could tell you that for me, it was like, meh. Like he's not gonna take it. It's not like a ooh. It's not. It's not anything like that. But maybe they, like you said, put that in there to introduce that particular storyline or that particular story arc. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know.
I almost feel like it is the tide me over drama while they're trying to. I mean, because it
Exactly.
could all be scheduling, right? Like we know Roman's, available,
Mm-hmm.
but it could be that they're trying to time out certain elements. Like I know The Rock just finished up or is finishing up a movie, so something like he's due to return inside of the next couple of months. And I know
Mm-hmm.
that based on what we speculate is going to happen, right? The idea is that they've built up this bloodline, and now Roman Reigns comes back and he's like super over, super face. And
Yeah.
in all likelihood, he's going to try and put together his own counter bloodline. And that most likely will involve the reunification of Jimmy and Jay. Well,
Mm-hmm.
Jay is still trying to do this push for a singles title shot.
Yeah.
And that's kind of going on Monday nights where, we've got the Intercontinental belt coming. So I don't know if they plan on moving the IC belt off of Braun Breaker or if Jay
I
is
don't
going
think
to get
so.
his, he'll finally get his little match. I don't
I don't
see.
know. Sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I don't see how he could have any kind of meaningful title run before he is
Correct.
needed to return back to the Bloodline storyline, if
You
that's the
just,
direction they're going for it.
yep, exactly. Like, I listen. I would love for Jay to get a belt, but I feel like it's too little, too late. Unless they have no plans to have him go back into the Bloodline storyline, um, which would be so freaking strange to me if they decided to do that. So I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do, but I feel like his opportunity, his chance, his moment for that singles belt, uh, it's it's waning, man. It's not high. Like it's almost over here. So unless they're gonna give him a belt for like a week,
Yeah,
I'm
and
not really sure what they're doing here.
I don't think, like, for as long as they've been hyping up, him finally getting us one big championship, like his singles championship, it would be pretty cheap to just put the strap on him for like a week and then peel it off of him because he has to come over to SmackDown.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
so
And I
I
mean,
tend to agree with you. Like we've had like he's been gone from the bloodline now for like a year at least, yeah.
yeah.
So
At
they've had
least,
all
right?
that
I mean,
time to
because
let him do his singles run, and so it seems odd that
right.
right here on the threshold of the steps of where, assuming we're right about any of that stuff, right, where he and Jimmy would have to come back into the fold, it would be very
Yeah. You know
weird
what?
that his title run happens right now when,
Yeah.
that would be a very severe time constraint. Unless they're going to
So
drag out, trying to recruit Jay back into the fold.
I hope not. But you bring up a really good point uh about this time, like the timeline here. I'm not really sure how they would even plan to have him with a belt at this like a singles belt at this particular point. But also, our audience does not know about the theory that we have as far as the bloodline is concerned. So you just referenced it, but they don't know it. So you might want to explain to them what we think is going to happen with the bloodline storyline.
Oh, like the whole enchilada since Cody won the belt.
Yeah.
Well,
And now we got one bloodline and
we
where Roman fits in and Jimmy and Jay.
Yeah. Well, the theory that we have crafted is that, and it seems to be playing out this way, which is why we're still on this theory, is that Solo will put together, a new bloodline, and that's exactly what has happened. And then
Yep.
way before anything, we were like, Roman's going to come back and kick all their butts, because Solo, is trying to take over, and that has also come to pass. And then the remainder of the theory is that Roman Reigns wouldn't be enough to handle the bloodline on his own. Like, he could take any one of them, but he can't deal with all of them. Also has come to pass. And so we're now at the stage in this theory where Roman, as good as he is and as popular as he is, like, he came back a mega face. That
Mega.
was exactly as we predicted. That Roman would come back the conquering hero because he's now needed to take over from the wannabe tribal chief Solo Sikoa.
Yeah.
And moving further into the theory is that Roman would then have to put back the old bloodline, which would be reassembling, Jimmy the Wise Man and Jey Uso, and possibly someone else. Now that one is still kind of up in the air who the someone else would be. Is it going to be Sami Zayn returning? And being kind of a callback to when he was in the bloodline, or would it be an alliance with Cody Rhodes?
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of want it to be Sami Zayn, but I'll also take, it could even be somebody from the newly formed bloodline that jumps ship and goes to the OG bloodline, if you will.
Yeah, that mystery member is the real question mark, because what's the saying about strange bedfellows? Putting Roman and Cody together to take down the old bloodline is the kind of like irony that WWE lives for, right? Like, they were at each other's throats, now they're together. And we also hypothesized that behind Solo Sikoa, there is an even bigger member that will be part of the new bad guy bloodline, and that The Rock will come back and be the leader of that, like, the offshoot bloodline. And
he is the head of the table in his head, and Solo has been basically acting for him or acting in his stead this entire time.
Yeah, something along the lines of, I don't care who's the head of the table, I own the house, because I sit on the board. Something like that.
Oh god,
because he's the final boss. And that all sets the stage for, like, one, we're setting the stage for a pretty epic bloodline civil war. We've also naturally come around to a point where the crowd is super cheering for Roman Reigns, whereas before they were like, we're sick of Roman. And like 2 seconds after Cody wins the belt, we miss Roman. And now Roman comes back, and it's a massive pop because he's now on, he's the hero trying to take down the old bloodline. And it's like, well, what do you think he's going to do with it when he gets it back? But whatever, And
he's going to regress, but that's all right.
Ultimately, we'll have Roman Reigns' reformed, like, OG bloodline versus the new bloodline, where you find out that The Rock is, the final boss that's pulling all the strings for the old bloodline. And they're going to have their civil war. And what it will do, and not necessarily with the title in the picture, is that will set the stage for Rock versus Roman at WrestleMania 41, I believe we're coming up on. And this time, instead of it feeling forced and everybody being like, this is terrible, what about Cody? Everybody will be clamoring for it. Like, they'll be salivating for it because they will have taken all of this time to make it actually fit into the story and brought the crowd along with them that way instead of by fiat, which is kind of how it was last time. And it will be an epic battle, between Roman and Rock that we will have gotten to with some genuine heat, and Rock will be the heel and Roman will be the face and all of that, So that's our theory of what's going to go down with regards to the Bloodline storyline. And some mysteries still abound. Like, will they be able to get Jay, or will he be like, nah, man, it's just me, Oos? And then we're all like, what? They didn't get Jay back? Or will they get...
It's just me,
Yeah.
Oos.
Will they get...
Not interested.
I've done that. You know, Ooses, deuces.
Done that.
Or deuces, ooses. Ooses, deuces. That's a new one. So we have some questions about who's going to be part of Roman's bloodline, but I think the framework doesn't change. Like, I really do feel, because so much of what we predicted, like, near the end of WrestleMania 40 has come to pass. And so I think we're on the right track, even if we don't, have all of the details. But because, like, whoever Roman gets, like, if he does get Jimmy and Jay, everybody will think that's phenomenal, right? You've got the Usos back together. You've got the OG bloodline that are now unified, and this time it's not, Roman bossing around his family members like some douchebag, but they all have a common cause, and, they're righteous. And so who fleshes out the rest of that could be anyone from Sami Zayn to Cody Rhodes to another member of the Anoa'i's eternally extended family that comes in to play for their team.
1,000 wrestlers in their family just falling from trees.
Yeah, which wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, right?
No,
like,
absolutely
shouldn't
not.
Roman be able to tap into that bloodline for some fresh talent, or is Solo the only one who can,
Go get your other 8 cousins.
Right?
Let's go. And everybody in WWE will just be a member. Will be a member of Roman's family.
And that's assuming that we've even seen the maximum growth, right? Because I'm sure The Rock will come in to be the leader of the bad guy bloodline. But, like, this might not be all of the new bad guy bloodline that shows up. This might not even be close to all of the members of the bloodline's family tree that make an appearance in this situation. So
yeah, I don't think so. Like, and I love Solo. Solo is fantastic. I think he's risen to the occasion when it comes to being the acting head of the table. But I don't get the vibe that he is the pardon my pun here, the final boss. Because he just isn't, right? I mean, like you think about it, you have Roman, who was like the man with that belt, okay? And Jimmy, Jay, all of those dudes, I could see Jay with the belt. I could see Jay being the head of the table. And I remember that fantastic match. I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't see the it sounds really cold-blooded when I say it this way, but I don't see the superstar status on Solo the way I see it on Roman or the way I see it on Jay. But I do see it on, like, I just don't think that he's a big enough star in WWE right now to be an actual competitor for Roman Reigns. Like as the final outcome, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, right. Like
a match between him at WrestleMania and Roman Reigns, that ain't like, ooh. I've seen him and Roman go at each other, and Roman has bested him along with 2 other men that he had with him. Mm-hmm. So I don't see him as being the final, sorry to say it again, the final boss. I think that pun or that statement, that phrase that Rock said last year or the beginning of last year up until April of this year, I think that dude really means that he's the final boss. I think that's the guy that you're going to have to go against, or Roman's going to have to go against. Who? Because think about it. You're going to need somebody bigger than Roman to even make this seem like a challenge.
Yeah, and the only one that I think could pull that off would be The Rock.
And we saw The Rock obliterate Cody Rhodes.
Yeah. Yep.
Obliterate.
Yeah, and we still haven't seen Solo elevated to that status. Solo very much has to rely on the pack, whereas Roman and Rock and Cody like they benefit from having friends, but they
Yeah.
also don't need them. You know, it's kind of like what I spoke to in that last podcast with regarding like Liv Morgan as a heel and her credibility. Like, I'm not saying Solo can't prove himself in the ring, but Solo against Roman is Roman 100 times out of 100. Um, he needed the rest of the bloodline. You know, so I agree with you wholeheartedly. He does not have the credibility to stand across the ring from either Cody Rhodes or Roman Reigns and make me think he can beat either one of them one-on-one. I'm not saying it won't be a good match, but Roman beats Solo 100 times out of 100. Cody beats Solo 100 times out of 100. Rock?
Yeah.
You know, can The Rock? Because they've been very careful not to have Roman and Rock go at each other. So that they're keeping that a surprise. And they showed you that The Rock could beat the ever-loving, like you said, crap out of Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, he beat the stars out of Cody.
He
Okay?
beat the stars off of his jacket.
Yeah, he beat the hair dye out of him. I mean, he beat them eyebrows brown. Like
Yep.
He gave it to him. And when I think about Solo, I still think of Solo as the enforcer. And the enforcer he's still under Roman, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And Solo has Jacob Fatu, which I see exactly the same way as Solo. In fact, he came in doing exactly what Solo did. He came in wrecking shop. So he is Solo's enforcer. But for me, they're on the same level.
Yeah.
Like if they had a fight, I think they would be equally matched. Well, I don't think that Solo would get the best of him, and I don't think Jacob Fatu would get the best of him. I think they'd be pretty freaking equally matched. So I don't see Jacob Fatu is a beast. He's a badass. Do I see him as a contender against Roman? When you catch Roman by surprise, sure, anybody can be. But no,
that's anyone. You can sucker punch anyone, yeah.
Yeah, anybody can get the upper hand if they, hit you from behind, or they get you when you're not paying attention. Sure,
yep,
sure he can. But I don't think Jacob could, face to face, toe to toe. I don't think he could take Roman because that's why Roman was the head of the table.
Well, and they showed us precisely that. I absolutely do, and they showed us precisely that in the last encounter with Roman, like 2 Smackdowns ago, yeah. And so Roman was kicking all of the bloodlines' butt until they used numbers against him. Numbers and like steel chairs and putting him through a table. And they even made, because WWE likes to put a fine point on it. Like they're like, just in case you didn't pick it up through the very obvious context, we'll have Michael Cole say, even Roman Reigns can't deal with the numbers game. So it's like, oh, in case you didn't put that together yourself, watching it happen, let's state it very overtly for you that, this is where the story is going. We now need to show you that Roman Reigns cannot, as good as he is, deal with the numbers game. So I guess Roman has to either, one, go home and lick his wounds, or come back with his own bloodline, which is exactly where I think they're going to go with it.
Yeah.
But I agree with you.
I think so.
Now, there has been some people saying, like, they on the internet, the rumor creators, have been saying, there was a fear that Jacob Fatu would overshadow Solo Sikoa.
Yes.
And I don't think they're wrong. I do think that Jacob is looking like a stronger competitor than Solo these days.
Well, you know why? Because they decided that 9 times out of 10, Solo would never do any of the power moves that made him stand out when he came to WWE, that made him stand out in NXT.
Yeah.
Instead, they wrapped his thumb up and told him to fake stab people in the throat with it. And I'm sorry, that ain't impressive. Jacob Fatu comes in here, and he's literally doing the powerhouse moves that Solo Sikoa used to do.
Well, yeah.
He's good.
Like,
he's gonna overshadow him, yeah, because he looks dominating. It's dominating to pick another man up and slam him to the mat like he was a piece of paper that somebody handed to you that you didn't want.
Well, and he's got a
Okay?
heck of a series when he goes on his offense, right? He's got that
Yes.
pop up to the Samoan drop, which he delivers that so well. Like it just looks like the guy's been driven into the basement. And on top of that, he's got like some really potent super kicks. He's got this like ability where like you remember when he got DDT'd and just like no selled it and just
pop
like,
back up.
yeah, it's like he's definitely leveraging the I'm Samoan and you hit me in the head, you fool. You know? So it's like, oh, okay. And so like everything he does is very powerful. Like the least dominant thing he does is scream, I love you, Sordo. You know, that's it.
Like I think they're missing, and so the concern that Jacob Fatu is going to look more dominant than Solo, yes, because he does.
Yeah.
He does. And see, that's the difference, though. Roman Reigns looked dominant even when Solo Sikoa looked dominant, right?
Yeah, there was no point where we were like, oh, well, I guess Solo has Roman's number.
Yeah, no. At no point. And I know that Roman used the bloodline a lot to settle arguments or disagreements. You know, hey, take care of my lightweight though, right? I mean, I don't think he should jump into every single fight with little minions. Honestly, he had his own group. He sends them in to do his dirty work. Yeah, because he's the head of the table.
Yeah.
But then he didn't need them. Like Roman had, and that's what got on our nerves so much about when he used the bloodline.
Yeah.
Because we're like, you don't freaking need them. You are owning this dude. That match that he had against Kevin Owens. Do you remember that? We slammed him on the steps
where we thought Kevin was going to die because he was getting pounded into steel stairs so badly. Yeah, so it's
Kevin's never walking again. So what I'm saying is that they've never ever made Roman look less dominant. They never made him change any of his moves to make him look like he couldn't do a power move. They never did that.
Yeah.
But Solo comes here, and I'm telling you, changing his finisher to the thumb business was not a smart idea. I don't know why they did it. Again, maybe he has an injury, and maybe that move, aggravates it or something. I've seen him do it a few times since being here, but he doesn't do it often. So maybe there's something going on there, or maybe they legit wanted him to have that move so that he could honor. Oh my goodness, the guy who used to do it,
Umaga.
Thank you, Umaga. Maybe they were doing that. I don't know, but in any case, it makes him look like he needs the bloodline instead of he's using the bloodline, but it's not necessary.
Well, and why not let him do some other power moves? Like he used to deliver a really snazzy belly-to-belly suplex. And I mean,
true.
I have a kind of a theory as to why they maybe have him coming off of the spinning solo is similar to Damian Priest just recently verified, like in an interview, I can't remember with who, it might have been Chris Van Vliet, that part of the reason he stopped using, I think he called it the Reckoning, which is essentially the Crossroads, was because Cody came back. And it's not like he was mandated to do so, but like he on his own was like, oh, Cody's got a very similar move. I think I'll switch it up, because I don't. And his rationale was pretty good from the interview. He was like, I also don't want people to think of Cody Rhodes when I do my finisher.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was like, cool. So it could be some of that, like with The Rock, going to be on the scene, and you're going to have the spear and the Superman punch on Roman's side with the People's Elbow and the Rock Bottom on the Rock side. Maybe they want to not have Solo do something that looks like an even better version of the Rock Bottom. Because his spinning solo is a very cool version of the rock bottom, like, because of the
I
spin.
mean, yeah.
So it could be that there's too much overlap with the finishers being used, and on top of that,
So you
several.
told him to poke people in the throat with his thumb.
Maybe that's what they went with. I
Come
don't know. I
on.
mean, I think he could flesh that out if he did like some more power moves between like when he starts a match and then he goes to the thumble, because the last few
Yeah.
Solo Sikoa matches, or at least in my mind, it seems like there's a lot of headbutts and slappies, and then we're inevitably getting to the thumble, and it's like.
Yeah.
I miss like here's a dude who could power bomb and all other kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's already a lot of overlap. If I'm being perfectly honest, there's a ton of overlap with what all of them use. Like there isn't a one of them that doesn't do a Samoan drop.
Yeah.
And they all kind of headbutt, and they've also got the sort of underhanded chop uppercut thing going on, although I don't think anybody quite nails it like Roman does. When he does it, it looks like he literally slapped the taste out of someone's mouth.
Oh yeah, he does it great. I think second only to Jay. Jay does it really well, but Roman does it like he's slapping all flavor from your mouth.
And to be
like
perfectly honest,
right before you got hit, you were like, "Man, dinner was great."
Right.
And then, right after that, you're like, "What even is dinner?
What even is the taste of food?" And Roman also uses like an Uranage shoulder throw. He just doesn't do it like both Solo and The Rock take it all the way to the ground, right? Like when they're done, they're on their bellies and their opponent's on their back. Roman picks them up in a similar fashion, but then just like power yeets them to the ground, to the mat.
Yeah.
So I guess that's different enough. So, but that's one theory. Maybe he changed it because, with the way the bloodline thing was going to play out, we're going to end up having The Rock as the final boss. And eventually, maybe it was all intended to lead up to Rock versus Roman. And they were like, the spinning solo's a little too close to the rock bottom. So maybe something different, That's one possibility.
Maybe, but boy, I sure do wish they had done something else. And listen, again, respect to Unaga, whatever. But I just wish it was something else. Because I mean, it's really hard. It's a hard take for me to watch him lifting people off the mat, tossing them around like rag dolls one day, and then the next day staring at his thumb like it was magic.
I could not agree with you more.
Yeah,
I mean,
and even they, I think even they know that it looks like a weak move because they've gone so far now as to making him do it multiple times or like 3 times, and it's like, yeah, bro, it still looks lame each time. In fact, the more you do it, the more obvious it is that you aren't doing it.
Yeah, and so I feel about that like
the fake headbutts, the headbutts that make my soul tired.
Yes, but I mean we've talked about like using too many multiples of a move just makes it look like it's a weak. Like if you need to hit him like 27 times with it, it's weak. Yeah. I mean a thing like a headbutt, like the Glasgow kiss, like that is amazing because one, it looks like it just derailed your jaw from your face, and
two, it looks like you were trying to say something and it said no.
Yeah, I mean, the way it's delivered is dominant. If I hate it when it's like, now we're going to do rapid fire headbutts. If you need more than one headbutt, you did it wrong. Like, that's just the way headbutts work. It's not this, like, you need 50 of them. And I feel that way, like, when people get into slap fights, and it's just nothing but kitten mittens punches, where it's just rapid little rabbit punches. Those do nothing.
Yeah.
Contrast that with like Samoa Joe when he's doing his jab routine, and it sounds like each one of those is a gunshot to the opponent.
Yeah, he does. Yeah,
that is so much better for presentation than people getting into hockey slap fights. I just think that looks weak.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
Tying that into what you were saying about using the Samoan spike like multiple times, I do think that they need to be careful with the situations in which they need to do a finisher multiple times. Um,
Yep.
because if you don't protect that, it starts to make me think that one of your finisher is kind of lame.
Mm-hmm.
So like Cody Rhodes needs to maybe put it more in reserve, like how many people he's going to do the triple one to, because that just makes in like the Kevin Owens match, right? He did two of them, and Kevin Owens just bounced right back up, and it wasn't until the third one, that he finally could pin him, and it's like, so the first and the second one didn't do jack squat. And you've got to be careful with that. Your finisher should be a move that's a little more protected, and one of them is all you need, except for the most intense rivalries and circumstances. Because, could you imagine if back in the day, the Undertaker's on his 5th Tombstone piledriver? It's like, dude.
Like, if you need 5 of them,
it's not doing anything.
He's already dead. No, he's already dead. He's already dead. You missed the mark. You didn't realize he was dead. I'm telling you, my man's dead.
Yeah, so I would prefer that they hold that in reserve. Like, hit him with like your signature 2 or 3 times, but your finisher should be one and done, except for the most extreme circumstances. I mean, pull it out more rarely is all I'm saying, because I don't want to feel like, one Crossroads doesn't do jack. You need 3 of them. Know what I mean?
Yeah.
And same with the Samoan Spike. It's already a move that most people's willing suspension of disbelief is short on. Like, in any circumstance, if you were actually doing your thumb like that, outside of having a metal rod taped to it, you're breaking your thumb. And if you've ever looked at it closely, he's basically curling his thumb in every time he throws the strike so that it's wrapped around his fist, and then he pulls it back out. And so he's obviously not actually hitting him with the thumb, at least not in any meaningful way, because, he would break his thumb. So to need him to do that, like, repeatedly, just feeds into the idea that you were doing a dumb move to begin with, because it kind of looks like a dumb move. Like, my thumb bark,
Yeah.
So They need to be careful with how they're presenting that, without to keep it from looking like it's too weak. And just in general, be more careful with like rapid fire moves of the exact same move. Like, I feel that way about Claudio Castagnoli. They're like, his European uppercut's amazing. Yeah, well then why did he need to throw 85 of them in that match? If it was so good, he should only need to throw it once, maybe twice.
Yeah. Oh, well, he did. I mean, he had to do it that many times because he didn't run and jump first.
Oh, I see. It was just a normal European uppercut, not a from space off the top rope kind of.
Right.
Okay.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyway, there's the whole outline of the bloodline, and tying that back into the beginning of the night, I really don't think that they actually intend for Jacob Fatu to have any real stress with Solo. I think that's them trying to give some angst to the bloodline while we're in the holding pattern of them scheduling, the story to actually be able to move forward.
I tend to agree.
So, moving on from there, we ended up with LA Knight getting a live microphone, which might be the most dangerous thing that you could do that night. I mean, Cody and the Bloodline, okay, there's some tension there, but LA Knight with a live mic, somebody might leave the arena bloody. So he's come out and he's talking about how anyone who tries to take it from him, they're not gonna, because he won't let them. Nah. And that sets the stage for Carmelo to come out. And let you know that he's him.
Oh, yeah, he is him. He is him, the one that gets on my friggin' nerves.
And that
Carmelo.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead. No. Go on.
Well, and that Carmelo, is him because he beat the other one who's tied with him twice in a row. But he also lost to the guy who's tied with him twice in a row. And so Carmelo is doing him math Um, and
Yes.
that then
Yes,
leads
him is.
Andrade to come out and lose all intimidation because of his funny accent.
Nuh-uh. Stop it.
I mean,
I
there are
am
parts.
mad intimidated.
Are you mad intimidated?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
I love Andrade. I'm just saying that promo he tried to cut just did not do him any favors.
No. Well, okay, that's true. But he's cutting a promo against Carmelo, who apparently came to WWE and lost all charisma from NEW. From NXT.
From NXT. Yeah, I don't know exactly which direction they're trying to go with Carmelo. Like immediately,
it's almost like he needs Trick or something.
well, it's. I guess they want him to be a heel or something. Because when he first came there, like they gave him a shot against Cody Rhodes. They put on a pretty credible match.
Good match.
Then from there, it's like time to bury Carmelo, and it's. Now I'm not sure what they're trying to accomplish with him. He's been locked in with Andrade so long that I'm beginning to think Andrade needs to peel the ring off of Charlotte and hand it over to Carmelo.
But you know what? Here's my concern with Carmelo though, and what they're doing with him. They're giving him this really like campy, cheesy, slightly whiny heel character to deal with. And I don't know why.
Yep.
But it's not fitting. It's not. He doesn't wear it well. Okay. It feels like really bad, cheesy ass acting.
Well, yeah, it's insincere cocky instead of like legit cocky.
Right, and I don't want them to do that and then go, man, you suck. Gotta let you go, and pull a Cameron Grimes on him.
Yeah,
and then just kick him to the curb. Because I mean, I feel like they did the same thing with Cameron Grimes. Like they never gave that dude a chance. They gave him this really goofy gimmick, almost the same gimmick that they gave Corbin. And that was it. Like he stuck to that thing. I can't even remember any other character. And if I'm wrong, please, like somebody let me know. But I can't remember another character that he did except for this really like country millionaire. Like
he didn't that I'm aware of, at least not for a long time. But like the last time, like a couple years ago, when we were looking at NXT, and Cameron Grimes was awesome. He was in a feud with Joe Gacy, and he was kind of a somber Cameron Grimes. So instead of it being like to the moon and all goofy. He was like kind of edgy and broody, and on top of that, he was running out of nowhere and stepping on people like they're standing bolt upright, and suddenly he's on their shoulders. Like to the extent that the swerve stomp looks cool, Cameron Grimes was stepping on people, and when he first debuted,
that one stump that he gave to Gacy, boy, that looked horrible out there on the apron,
and
I don't even think he was in a match. I think he just ran up on him and did it.
He did. Yeah, no, that's correct. It wasn't a match he was in. I don't even think Gacy was in the match. At that time, the grizzled young veteran guys that are over in AEW now were part of his little Gacy squadron, and they were in a match, and Cameron stomped Gracie through the exterior, the outside the ring. And then when they brought him to SmackDown, he was being dominant the first few times he came out. I remember he even had a match, air quotes. It was about as much of a match as, well, I'll talk about that later. But it was basically the bell rings and he runs and steps on Baron Corbin, and that's it. I mean, it was a full super squash. And then the next thing I know, like, they're not using him. And then the next thing I know after that, they let him go. And it's like, what happened?
Yeah. I don't know. But every time they had him come out, he comes out in that stupid, his little black trunks, that stupid vest, sometimes a top hat.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, that's it, my God. That's all you give him, my guy.
And if ever you were going to reinvent
I don't think they had any faith in him. In which case, why did you hire him then?
Yeah, I don't know. I just hope that Cameron's able to land somewhere else.
Maybe he was like difficult to work with or something. Like I don't know, because I don't know the backstage talk or nothing, but maybe he was difficult to work with, or maybe he really thought that character was going to work one day. Maybe he was the one who was really up on it. I don't know. Whatever the case, I hope though that he if he's the one that were the problem, I hope that he gets his shit together.
Yeah.
Because I mean, he was great in the ring. I would love to see him, and if we can give CM Punk chance after chance after chance after chance,
Surely Cameron
then,
Grimes can catch another one.
Surely,
if he wants. I haven't heard anything. I don't know anything. But circling back to, because Cameron Grimes was brought up as a cautionary tale that we don't want to befall Carmelo Hayes, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So we have Carmelo come out there to address LA Knight, and before him and LA really can kind of do anything much, Andrade El Idolo comes out, and then they're cutting a promo, and then LA Knight more or less says, well, I don't really have time for y'all to have this little tiff, so I'm out. And then we end up in a confrontation that ultimately results in LA Knight hitting the BFT on both of the potential challengers. So right out the gate, it kind of is like, well, it doesn't matter whether it's Carmelo or Andrade now, because neither one of them, like he's kicked the crap out of both of them.
Yeah.
It's like both of you were in the ring and the champion bested you both. So we'll see how that one goes, but I feel like they're gonna have to settle this issue with Andrade and Carmelo with yet one more match to break the current 2-2 tie before it's even an issue that LA Knight must worry about. But I can appreciate that segment in the sense that it reminded us what the point of all that was, because I kind of think that's why it existed. It's like, why are El Idolo and Carmelo just fighting forever? Now, oh, right, they're trying to be the number one contender. Okay. So, it was good for that, at least. But moving on from there, we then had Bayley, who we hadn't seen in a minute, at least not since she lost her belt, defending against Tiffany Stratton. And you had a small segment where Tiffany and Nia Jax kind of are talking, and Nia's like, you would never do that. You would never cash in on me, would ya? And Tiffany's like, no, but have you been listening to Chelsea Green? And it's like, we all know,
just ratting her out.
We know that Tiffany is just waiting for a moment to do exactly that. And
yes, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, I'm just saying, like, that's where it's inevitably heading.
Of course.
And I kind of felt like instead of building on that just sort of like restated the obvious again.
Yeah. Yep. This might piss some people off, and I'm prepared. But in my honest opinion, I feel like putting Tiffany and Nia Jax together was WWE's response to AEW's Tony and Mariah May storyline. And if it is, I'm just going to say, if it is, I'm going to need y'all to stop it. Because that storyline with Marissa, right? Mariah, Jesus. Have another joint. Mariah May and Tony, that right there, that's a whole nother level. That storyline was giving me All About Eve, whatever happened to Baby Jane or whatever the name of that movie was. That I mean, it was giving me all the drama that I wanted, and it was so good. And if they're like Nia Jax and Tiffany, like it's just not the same thing. It's not the same thing.
No, it's absolutely not the same thing. Like, Tony Storm and Mariah May's build up and feud was like a novel, right? And
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Tiffany Stratton and Nia Jax's rivalry that bears some similarities is like at best the cliff notes to that story arc.
Yeah. Yep.
Um,
And I can't help but also feel as if they put Tiffany with Naya to kind of counteract that little drama that popped up with Tiffany posting something that people claim to be racist. I know you know what I'm
I
talking
do.
about. That little meme thing that popped up, which I think got blown way out of proportion. But I think
Yeah.
their response, I think WWE's response was to put her with a woman of color. To show that, you know, not only does she have a personality, but she's fighting and no, she's not a racist. I don't feel like they needed to do that, honestly. But you know, I guess I get it. I guess I get it. You're trying to, you know, like squelch or quench some heat. I get it.
Yeah.
But
The th-
I just kind of feel like that's why they put them together.
the thing that I'm a little like leery of with that storyline is that you've presented Tiffany Stratton like literally one of her sayings is I'm the only thing that matters in the universe.
Yeah.
You know, and it's always Tiffy time. So her playing kind of cohort / minion to anyone undermines that element of her character.
Yeah.
It also
I
undermines
agree.
the credibility of it. Like anybody who's like, I don't think Tiffany Stratton would be anybody's minion for long, at least not without an ulterior motive. And it's like, grr. You know, so I don't think
Yeah.
anyone's going to be even remotely surprised like that Tiffany Stratton
No.
is just biding her time to become the women's champion. And, you know, there'll be this huge tirade of, oh my God, I threw a party for you. Jeez, brr. You know, like, I can't believe. It's so good to finally rip this belt off of you, you ridiculous bull moose idiot kind of thing, you know?
Almost.
Yeah, something,
Yeah,
you know?
no. I'm hoping something like that happens, but I just, yeah, I agree with you. I feel like you can't make her be like it's all about me, except for when she's kowtowing to Nia
Except
Jax.
for when it's all about Naya. Yeah, so.
Yeah, and also just a side note there, can we move Pretty Deadly away from this bullshit and put them back in the ring, please? Where they were? You remember when they were wrestling and they were good, they were winning? Remember those days?
Oh, you mean in
What's going on
NXT?
here?
Um,
No, when they came to
yeah.
WWE, like their first couple of matches, they were winning, they were looking good, you know, and then they kind of started pushing them closer and closer to the, you know, I don't know what this is, to be perfectly honest. And it's not that I don't
Well,
love them. I love me some Pretty Deadly, but I love them in the ring too. I want to see them in matches. I don't want to. The only time I get to see them is when they're in a
yeah.
dressing room with
Yep.
Tiffany Stratton.
Yeah, and
Like,
it's
no.
bizarre to me too because like they're very I feel like they're popular with the fans and
Yeah.
they have more or less not wrestled hardly at all since WrestleMania. Like we were like, "Where's Pretty
Nope.
Deadly? Why weren't they at WrestleMania?" And they did like a little comedic skit about why they're not at WrestleMania. But then it was like, you know, Pretty Deadly the musical, and now it's Pretty Deadly the, you know, questionably maybe gay guys that hang out with Tiffany Stratton now. And it's
Yeah.
like so I agree
the
with
one
you.
they get scared when Nia Jax comes around and they like bow a lot and back away. Like, what is
Yeah.
happening?
So I don't know what their plan is with Pretty Deadly, but I feel like especially you know, industry wide, right? Like you've got those kinds of tag teams, and I feel like their analog in AEW right now would be Maximum Male or MXM, right?
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
MXM is killing it. Not only are they putting on like some incredible matches in the ring, but their comedy stuff is awesome.
Hilarious.
Yeah, so they are
Yeah.
amazing over on AEW, and so they're like WWE is inadvertently burying them Pretty Deadly, I mean,
Yeah.
because there's
Yeah. I mean,
another
WWE wouldn't.
there's another couple of guys out there that basically are doing their shtick, but
Yeah.
they're getting tons of TV time, they're getting tons of in-ring time, and it's hilarious, and they're getting super over. Whereas Pretty
Yep.
Deadly is getting maybe a minute's worth of time on any show to be comedy relief.
It took MXM, I think, one match, and then the audience was on board.
Like
And I think
immediately, and it's because not only are they funny, but they're amazing in the ring.
I think that's one of the differences between AEW and WWE. I love them both. You know, I love both promotions, and I love them both for different reasons. So where one may fall short, the other one may not, and that's fine. I'm cool with that. So if I'm complaining or I gripe about one of them, it's not because I like one more than the other or anything like that. I love them both for different reasons.
Yeah.
But
I mean, we wouldn't be talking about one or the other on the podcast if we didn't like them both, but that doesn't mean we can't have our criticisms of them.
Right. But I think one of the things that I like about AEW over WWE is that I feel like they give different people a chance. If that I'm trying to find a nice way of saying it, because I feel like a lot of times WWE needs you to look a certain way. They need you to have a particular build, especially if you're a guy. Like, they need you to be a giant, you know, or they need you to be this or that, so that you can get into the limelight. And even if you do look like that, you may or may not get that opportunity. I mean, look at what happened to Austin Theory. I still feel like one man's paying for the fact that
he was a favorite of Vince's.
McMahon was still around. Yeah. Vince, the promos that Vince was cutting, it was that Austin was his favorite, was his pick, was his guy. I still feel like Austin is paying for that now. So it doesn't matter. Like, sometimes, you know, it may or may not work out for you, but to even get that shot, you got to look a certain way.
Yeah.
You just have to. Like, I don't think they would ever give a wrestler like Orange Cassidy a chance.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. I definitely agree that there are certain wrestlers that can only succeed, and they do so phenomenally over in AEW, whereas even under the new, you know, Triple H regime, you know, not as much changed as we had hoped in that area as would change once Vince was more out of the picture. So I agree with you. A little bit skirting what I think we both want to say, because we're not trying to be super contentious. But I agree. Long story short.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be a twat. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that I feel like sometimes certain wrestlers would never get the opportunity to be spectacular had it not been for promotions like AEW.
Well, I agree, and I think there's still buckets and boxes that people get immediately put into in WWE. We mentioned that in the last podcast about how if you're remotely lucha or Latino or Latina, you're like by default in the LWO.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I think in that regard, AEW does a good job of letting individuals be individuals, and then they can present themselves how they want, instead of being sort of like, you know, we're going to lump you in over here. And, oh, okay, you do lucha? Well, this is Rey Mysterio. You know, why don't you guys talk? They still sort of cordon everybody off into their own little spots.
Just lock them up in a room.
Yeah.
Just lock the door.
So, but to bring it back to the Tiffany Stratton Bayley match, basically Nia said, "I'm going to help you out like you helped me out last week," and then didn't. You know, like I know they made it look like, you know, Tiffany Stratton contemplated cashing in the Money in the Bank briefcase, but she also laid Bayley the heck out, you know, before she did that. And ultimately was to Nia Jax's benefit in helping her win the match. Whereas on SmackDown, Nia pretty much distracted the ref and let Bayley get the win on Tiffany. So it's like, you didn't help her out in the same way that she helped you out at all.
Yeah, no. You were actually much worse. Although, yes, you're correct. She was looking at her little briefcase, and she was looking at your little noggin and thinking, I could cash this in. You're right. She was. But
she didn't.
She didn't.
That's not how it played out.
So So she ended up helping you, and got nothing out of it. Like she could have beat Bailey up, cashed in, and then got that belt, right? Or at least attempted to get the belt.
Yep.
But she didn't. Meanwhile, Nia comes out and literally, I mean, they can make it look like, oh no, it was an accident. No, I think she cost that girl the match on purpose.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, obviously, right? She distracted the ref at
right,
just the right time to avoid the
right.
pin. So you could argue either way, like Bailey could have waited to kick out, or Bailey might have kicked out anyway. But the one thing that is for certain is that we won't know because Nia was distracting the ref from Tiffany's pin. So the
Yeah,
help that Nia brought was not the same help that Tiffany brought, not at all.
right,
So
right. New name, big help.
yeah. And so moving on from there, you had the segment where Grayson Waller and Austin Theory tried to trash Kevin Owens about what happened with Cody Rhodes,
Right,
which
right.
resulted in a triple threat match.
Which was kind of just what we thought it would be, which is Austin and um oh my god, Grayson uh basically tag team or teamed up on Kevin at times, but then Kevin, being ever the smooth criminal that he is, um could get them separate and distribute punishment to one, yeet him out, get the other one, beat his ass for a little bit. So he was able to do that.
Hmm.
And the only real heat that came out of that, because I mean, he was making it seem like what he was trying to do was get them against each other, or to
Yeah.
turn against each other, and it worked for a split second when Grayson ran in for the pin. Um, and Austin was not feeling that shit.
Yeah.
He was not
Because it was
feeling
a
it, and
triple
I mean
threat
that's really
match.
right, and that's really all that came.
Hmm.
That really came from it.
And
Even
ultimately,
the ending of the match was kind of like a yeah, we're cool, high five, we, So
yeah.
don't know what's gonna happen with that, but
Well, here's my feeling on all of it, right? Like, they clearly showed us that Kevin Owens can still kick both their butts. But
uh
when they teamed up after the match, they kind of laid out Kevin Owens. But that whole,
right,
I mean, if ever there was a filler match, this was a filler match. I mean,
you
I'm
ain't
not
wrong.
saying it's terrible. I've definitely seen worse filler matches, but this was like, hey, we just need somebody to have a match, and they were like, okay, you know, I don't think it's going anywhere or building a particular storyline for anyone. I'm not even sure.
Well, they keep teasing. They keep teasing that Austin and Grayson are going to break up as a tag team because Grayson is using Austin. I mean, even DIY started that like months
Yeah,
ago. And Kevin just kind of jumped on that bandwagon with that storyline. So I guess they're trying to eventually go somewhere with that.
yeah, but
But every time they do, they squash it the same day that they present it.
exactly. That's what I
So
meant by it not really going anywhere because it didn't
yeah,
really
yes,
advance
yes,
that. Like it's just this teased sort of thing, and it's almost
yeah,
like it's like, well, are you guys really going to do anything with that, or is this just like potential drama to kind of create some artificial investment until the crowd doesn't care because you've
yeah,
teased it for so long that they've lost interest in the outcome? And that's where I kind
yeah.
of feel like that is.
It's kind of like just doing something for the sake of like filler. It's kind of like when they had excuse me, when they had Cody Rhodes offer a belt match to Jacob Fatu. Like we everybody knows he's not going to take it, and you building that kind of drama. You're not really building drama yet. Like that's not really drama yet because again, he came out there and he squashed it. Like he squashed it right then and there, and that's what Austin and Grayson do every single time somebody presents that argument. So it's gonna look real weird almost if Austin finally goes, wait a minute.
Yeah. it, by the time he clues in, it'll be like, we would care, but it took you so long that we're like, your dumbass deserves it.
Yep. Just like when they kept teasing Otis finally letting go of Chad Gable abusing him.
Yeah.
Finally, it got to the point where both of us were like, yeah, we don't care anymore.
Well, I mean, that went on about 3 segments too long, because there was like 3 segments where it was the exact same segment. And it's like, there's a point where it's like, Otis, my sympathies are with you, but if you're going to take it like a beaten dog, then there's a point where I'm going to jump off Karen. And
yeah,
I mean, I'm glad it finally happened, but I think it lost a lot of its punchiness because they just dragged it out for so long.
I absolutely agree. Yeah, they waited way too long for it. It's almost like the situation with Luchasaurus and him being like just a pet for Christian.
I think you mean Killswitch.
I'm sorry. No, Luchasaurus.
Rebel Yell. He will always be Luchasaurus.
He is Luchasaurus.
Yeah, it is. It's like, at this point, like, Luchasaurus should have murdered Christian Cage like 6 months ago. Like, we're way past like where, he is a lost cause at this point. I mean, I'm sure people will be happy about it, but I don't think they'll be as happy about it this much later. But we shall see. I mean, but I agree with you. That's been going on for far too long. So moving on past the filler match, we come to the match of the night that I've heard in the rumor mill, again from the nebulous they out there who create rumors, that Giovanni Vinci's absolute squash by Apollo Crews was not particularly well liked by some key individuals in WWE. And I know I'm not a key individual in the WWE, but I didn't like it either. I felt like it was a complete waste of Giovanni Vinci's like total repackage, and like, oh, okay, so maybe here's a chance for us to take this dude seriously. And he comes out and has a super squash that seemed to only be to the benefit of like a minor chuckle, like, haha, and it just completely undermined Vinci as anything credible at all. And I mean, it's not like his work in the Imperium did anything but undermine his credibility either. Like, this dude lost and lost and lost, and I thought, oh, okay, they're giving him Giovanni Vinci where he was in NXT and he was very dominant. So now he's going to come back and kick ass, right? Nope, clearly not,
Yeah. And I mean, God, I hate to sound like this, but you and we saw that he was fighting Apollo Crews, and we went, oh, okay, so this is gonna be a squash match. He's gonna,
yeah,
he's gonna beat Apollo, and there we go. That's gonna be that. No.
Yeah.
No. Honestly, we did not expect for Apollo Crews to just pretty much roll him up into a pin. And that was that.
And that the joke is that he was taking his jacket off. And it's like, it just makes him look like such a fool. And it's like, also, you completely undercut this dude at the knees for this big repackage. Yeah. Like, out the gate, you have murdered him.
It was overall weird. Unless he thought it would be funny and he wanted to do that. I don't know. But it was just overall very strange to me. To just to do him like that. Like, and I don't know. Again, but I'm not too excited with them, with the way they're doing a lot of wrestlers right now. And I didn't think, okay, I mean, when I saw it happen, it got a chuckle out of me. It definitely got that. But I think maybe the chuckle was more be surprised that they just decided to.
Yeah, it was more of a what the hell. Yeah,
because I mean, they spent like 2-3 weeks with these promos,
video
these
packages
that they were popping off.
He's in exotic locales trying to show off that he's like this super well-to-do guy, and blah. And I thought they were going to do it like they did him when he was in NXT as Giovanni Vinci, and
Right.
he did all that same stuff, except that he was a very dominant competitor over there. Here,
Yeah.
he's now been you. You just repackaged him and you've kept him away from our eyes because like you need some space and distance to make a first
Yeah.
impression again, or we're just going to go, oh, look, it's that loser that got kicked out of Imperium. Now,
Yep.
we've got a fresh impression of the guy in our heads, and immediately they just crapped all over it by having him job
I
like
can tell
that.
you. I can tell you this much. I can honestly say that when I think of him, I don't think, oh, it's that lame ass dude who got kicked out of Imperium. That is not the first thought that comes to my mind anymore. So they did that.
Yeah.
Eh, something, I guess. Oh, look, it's the guy that got pinned by Cruz in about 6
Yeah.
seconds.
Yep.
If that.
Yeah. So I just feel like they undermined his whole repackage like right out the gate, and I just don't know what they could
Actually,
have possibly gained from that.
hit the bell rang, and then he got rolled up into a pin. It was not 6 seconds. I
I
think
think it was like
the match
4.
that yeah, I think the match that Cameron Grimes had against Corbin, I think that was like 6. I think he beat him in under 6 seconds. I think this was quicker than that, which is just oh boy.
Yeah, well, considering that a pin takes 3 seconds, that means it was 1 seconds of match and then a pin.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I don't know what was gained, but I can definitely tell you what it was cost and lost. And that is Giovanni Vinci having a shot in hell of being taken seriously now. Like now,
Yeah.
that or you've made it a complete uphill battle for the guy. And it's just like, man, way to bury him.
The only way that he's gonna come back from this, in my opinion, is if he comes back like next week or comes back next week and just destroys the person that he's in the match with. And I'm talking no like come out pissed that you got pinned and you got just count it out. You can do that. Come in, get real fucking mad about it, and beat the stuffing out of whoever you're in the ring with, and get the pin. That's the only way that you're gonna kind of gain face or gain some face from this. Because if not, then basically they're gonna pretty much do to you what they did to Corbin. Which you already know how I feel about that. Baron Corbin, I think, is an amazing wrestler, probably one of the best, and I hardly get to see him. And when he does come back, thankfully, finally, they attached him to Apollo Crews, which just squashed my heart.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know where any of that's going. I'm
Like he doesn't need to be with anybody.
No.
He doesn't need to be tag teamed with anybody.
No,
Why are we
they
doing
did
this?
all of the work in NXT, when him and Braun Breaker were a tag team and they were super dominant. It went a long ways to rebuild like Baron Corbin's credibility, which was absolutely destroyed by Pat McAfee. Bum-ass Corbin took off way harder than I think anybody thought it would, and that just like that was the final nail in Corbin's coffin. Like he had to go back and repackage entirely for a while so that people could get that out of their systems and not chant bum-ass Corbin. And now he comes out, he's the look is cool, he's no longer silly. He's got a killer entrance theme song. Burn the Ships is amazing. And so I see no reason why Corbin couldn't just come out there and absolutely just steamroll everybody. Like Corbin could be Kane all over again. He's that tall and he's that vicious in the ring. Why don't we lean into vicious Corbin? We've tried silly and
really sure
dumbass Corbin. It's just bad. So make Corbin vicious. He's already known to be a tremendously safe worker. So just have him be a force to be reckoned with.
Like, didn't he used to be called the Lone Wolf or something like that?
He did. That was his, like, when he first came.
So, okay. So then, like, is the punishment now that they're just making him like tag with other wrestlers now? What is
I
this?
don't know. I couldn't tell you.
And
Like those are things I don't understand. Like because I would, if it were up to me and I was booking, I would totally be doing different things with them. Like I would have repackaged. I sure wouldn't have had Vinci squashed in 4 seconds when he first returned, because him and Apollo Crews could have put on a banger of a match. Like I don't know if that
Mhm.
was a time constraints thing. Like we've lost a lot of time. You only have like 4 seconds, and you're like, all right, how about this? Yeah, that's the only way that makes some kind of sense. And even then, I probably would have opted for, we'll get it next week, on the debut. You can debut when SmackDown debuts on, what, USA? Because this was the last SmackDown
Yeah,
on Fox.
yeah,
I would have done almost anything different than what they did there. Because to me, that was just like, you just flushed all of the couple of weeks that you've spent building
yep,
up this Giovanni Vinci character to just throw it out the door on a freaking terrible joke. Like it just wasn't
yeah.
worth it. Um, but I digress. I feel like we've spent far more time than the WWE felt that was worth. So we'll move on to Chelsea Green and Piper Niven, or with Piper Niven versus Michin.
Yeah. Um, that match was okay. Uh, Michin is another one of those female wrestlers that I think could be dominant, and for some reason they just have her jobbing to other people. When I think of Michin, I think that she, just like I feel like with Shayna Baszler, I feel like these women could stand uh against Rhea Ripley. And I'm not saying they would win, but I'm saying they could put on really good bangers. Like these are the types of the competitors that they should be put up against. Uh, but instead, they have them just get in the ring and just job into their heart's content, man. I can't remember the last time Mia has won a match. And I'm not understanding why. But then they'll say stuff like, "Oh, she's been in NXT dominating," and it's like, okay, well,
But that
she
was
went
on
over there
NXT.
where right. But even as a WWE competitor or a superstar, she'll be over there having matches in NXT like they did with Alba Fire
Aladon.
and Prairie Dawn or whatever.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, the same thing they did with them. Instead of defending their belts in WWE against other female wrestlers they're over here in NXT with the people who are still basically learning. Defending their, like, what are you doing? So then I'm supposed to see that and go, yeah, man, they're alpha dog dominant. I can't wait to see them obliterate uh Bianca Belair.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on.
Well, there's a weird issue.
And Jade Cargill, sorry.
Yeah. There's a strange issue I feel with Michin. Like 1 minute, like she portrays as like is booked as and carries herself like she's kick ass. Like
Yeah.
she was in there griefing with Nia Jax, and then the next minute she's losing to Chelsea Green, and
Yep.
I feel like these are three women that are kind of lost in the limbo. And it's most particularly unfortunate for Chelsea Green because I think there's a lot of potential with Miss Green. Like she's not only good at evoking a character and making all kinds of faces and just being great at that, but I don't think we've seen anywhere near the upward limit of what she's probably capable of in ring.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Because the unpretty her that she did to Michin looked really good. Like she jumped with it and everything. It's like, well, there went your face. But long story short, I mean, the way the match played out was that Green was struggling to beat Michin straight, and so when the ref was distracted, Piper sentoned her, and that annihilated her, so that Chelsea could get the unprettier, and that was that. And
Yep.
I kind of wish they would do more with Piper Niven and Chelsea Green. I think I like that they kind of have a comedic element to them, but I really wish that WWE would stop making it an either-or proposition. I wish WWE would decide that you can be comedic, but you can still also go in the ring. because that's what's working
Yeah.
for, again, to reference them again, MXM over in AEW. You know, not only are they
Hmm.
hilarious outside of the ring, but they are absolutely amazing in the ring. So I don't think it has to be this either or proposition.
Yeah.
And certainly not with someone like Piper. She's maybe the second biggest woman on the roster behind Nia Jax. So I mean, she should be able to obliterate these folks. And
I agree.
for some reason, WWE is going to see that and be like, well, Piper will be the one that can obliterate folks. So Chelsea is just this yapping dog that couldn't get anything done without her. And it's like, why can't they both be kind of good in the ring, just in different ways? Because one's going to be a powerhouse and the other one more technical.
Yeah.
So, and Michin, they just do, like, again, I don't know if it's her or if the way she's booked or how she's told to portray herself, but it's inconsistent. Like, 1 minute she's very badass, and the next minute she's just getting squashed. So I
Yep.
don't know kind of where to rank her, you know. I would like to see something more done with like all of these talents, Michin included though, because I don't think they're being best realized.
Yeah. I agree.
Well, moving on from there, we had the big 8-man tag. You remember the one which we thought was going to be a tag match, like the tag team champions of the Bloodline, and like 3 other teams for the longest until we realized no, it's the entire Bloodline. So all 4 of them and Johnny Gargano, because we kept wondering, we're like, well, who? We've got
Yeah.
DIY and the Street Profits, and then you've also got Tama Tonga Chameleon. No, we got Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa. And so we thought there was going to be a 4th team for like most of the show.
We were like, what's
We're
happening?
like,
This main event's weird.
Is it a secret? Is it going to be like, Roman Reigns
gonna
and
be a
Jimmy Uso
surprise?
jump in there and beat them up for their belts? No, it wasn't anything that cool. It was just the entire Bloodline and 2 different tag teams.
Versus Street Profits and DIY.
Yep.
Which, man. All right, here we go again. I'm pretty sure people remember that I love CM Punk, so they're not gonna come. They're not gonna come for me for that. But they might come for me for this one, man. Johnny Gargano is boring. There,
What?
I said it.
What?
There, I said it. I
mean, he's Johnny Wrestling. What?
Yeah, he's Johnny Boring, is what he is.
He's Johnny dragging down what's left of Tommaso Ciampa.
I wish, again, this is another tag team that just doesn't need to exist. I guess Johnny Gargano needs Tommaso more than the other way around. Because I think Tommaso is an amazing wrestler, except for that dumb move that he does from the corner. When he runs past somebody,
where he running clotheslines them in the corner, and then he running clotheslines them in the corner, and then he running clotheslines them in the corner, and
and then just when you think he's gonna clothesline him in the corner, he runs and clotheslines him in the corner. Yeah, that one. Other than that, I think he's really good. But they just keep putting him with another person again.
Yeah.
For some reason, I don't think he needs that. I think that they are going to do with Tommaso what they did with Pac. And you're not going to appreciate this dude, and I hope that he goes somewhere else, because tying him, okay, they were tag team partners before in NXT or whatever, and
yeah,
I think he doesn't need to be in a tag team anymore.
No, because
Johnny might need it. Well, then why don't you put Johnny with Butch or whatever his name is now? Put those 2 little fucks together and let them go off and have boring matches that put everybody to sleep. Yeah. But why do you put him with Ciampa? Yeah,
and the sad thing is that while DIY may have had a brief time period in NXT, Tommaso Ciampa was also a very dominant NXT champion. And it's like, he has never gotten even close to back to that. Like, the closest he's gotten was when he had a heck of a match with Gunther for the Intercontinental
But
belt.
it was better than people expected because again they had spent most of their time putting him with somebody else,
Yeah, like I think
so
prior to
that
that,
people just
it was him and
yeah go
Miz.
ahead. Yep. Yeah. So people were surprised when he gave everybody a match, and still to this day, I don't think people even think about that match, unfortunately. But it was a good one.
Yeah,
Like it was a really good
yep.
match.
And I agree with you. Without bearing Gargano too much, I agree. He's very generic, very boring. He looks like he's the
Yeah.
default template when you're first creating a creator wrestler in WWE 2K24 or whatever.
Yes. Yep.
Like it's just that basic. And I think Tommaso Ciampa could go a lot further if he was allowed to be on his own. Sometimes I wonder if they just put all these people together because there's more talent on the roster than there is TV time. And this is, maybe that's why factions and tag teams are doing so good. But like it's
Yeah.
gotten to where you've got these guys who would really thrive as singles guys that are getting stuck in stables and tag teams just because there's not enough TV time. And I feel
Yeah.
like that has been Ciampa's situation since he got called to the main roster. Um,
I agree. Yeah.
so I fully agree with you. I also really am ready for the poor street profits who have been trying and trying to become some flavor of the tag team champions since all the way back when the Usos were just like, we own all the gold. And it's like, they're
Yeah.
so good. They are so good. Like, Angelo Dawkins has lost like a person's worth of weight getting in shape. And Montez
Yeah.
is, I don't even think arguably, one of the fittest and most incredible athletes that's on the roster. And yet, for some reason, the Street Profits might be up, but they never get the smoke.
Nope.
So,
You ain't wrong, and that makes me very sad. Because I'm just not sure why. I'm not sure why they're getting squashed here.
well, I think it's because,
I mean, not squashed, but like they just don't get the opportunity that. And meanwhile we're watching WWE put together tag teams like all over the place, right? Like all kinds of people are being put together, and we hardly ever see Street Profits doing anything. And when we do, they ain't winning.
yeah. So, part of it, I think, is that it's been like 5 minutes that the tag team belts came off of like the tag team belts were lost at WrestleMania to Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, and then they
Yeah,
held on to them for a while, and then we had the whole brand splits, and we had the belts. I think on Raw the belts were held by Miz and R-Truth for a while. And on SmackDown, it had been Grayson Waller and Austin Theory. But like like you talk about like how Isla Dawn and Alba Fire didn't seem to defend those belts much while they had them. Austin Theory and oh man, Waller didn't defend them hardly at all. And so they
yeah,
just sat. They just sat on two teams for a while that really didn't need them. And like then DIY got it for 5 seconds before it fell back into the hands of the Bloodline, where now those championships are tied up in the Bloodline storyline now again. So like you missed
again.
your window to win these belts off of you know the Bloodline
Yeah,
members, because in all likelihood the bloodline's going to hang on to those and keep them and maybe even gather a couple more pieces of gold before Roman Reigns and the reformed Usos are back in the picture, and then they start collecting all the gold there. So your 5 seconds of the titles not being wrapped around the bloodline's little finger have passed.
yeah.
At this point, I think the Street Profits would have the best shot of getting tag team gold if they petitioned to move over to Raw away from the bloodline.
Yeah, actually, because I just don't see them getting it.
No, I think those belts are super tied up in anticipation of the Usos forming back up and just collecting them again. You
Yeah.
know, it's like Lion-O telling the Sword of Omens to come to my hand. They're waiting for the Usos so that, Excalibur can reunite with Arthur. Um, so I hope, all the rest of the tag teams on the roster enjoyed the 30 seconds of getting to be a tag champion that you will ever get again until the Bloodline story
Yeah.
plays itself out.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that because I have contempt for the Bloodline story, but I mean, it's just true. It's going to tie up certain belts. It's on SmackDown, at least. I mean, I guess that's the
Yeah.
upside. It's not going to tie up all of the Raw belts, but if you're a SmackDown superstar, hope you didn't want any gold.
Yep.
But taking a look at that match, I mean, it was a pretty. The only reason I think it made it to a main event material is because of the participation of the Bloodline, and
Yeah.
that's about it. Like it didn't do anything to move the Bloodline's needle, and
Mm-mm.
no offense, but like I don't dislike Solo or Jacob, but this new Bloodline, like Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa, do literally nothing for me. Like, Tonga Loa is actually cursed all over the internet right now for all of like his main contribution to the Bloodline has been a remarkable number of botches relative to the amount of time he's been involved.
Yeah.
Like you can go look up any kind of like quick video, there's shorts of his botches. Like just it's unbelievable, like we were like, are we ever gonna see this guy wrestle? And we're maybe we shouldn't want that. Maybe we should be like, maybe he was better off just standing outside the ring.
Yeah.
Because like,
Is that the one who had the eye patch for a little
yep.
bit?
And
Yeah.
he, one of the bigger botches, not the most exclusive botch, but there was a botch where he was supposed to like, grab the ref out of the ring while he was trying to make the count. I think when it was Solo versus Kevin Owens, and they show video of where the ref would have made the 3 count if he hadn't drug himself half out of the ring because Tonga Loa was late for his cue. So, watching it back, the ref has to stop himself and push himself backwards out of the ring because Loa wasn't there to pull him out of the ring. And then another one is where Kevin Owens was going to do. It looked like he was setting up to do the package pile driver, like from the old days. And Tonga Loa was supposed to come in there and give him a low blow. Well, he misses and basically just punches Kevin Owens in the butt. And then he moves forward a little bit and does it. And some fans caught the footage from like a different angle instead of from the side. They caught it from face on. And he essentially just knuckle dusted Tama Tonga, who was upside down being, in the package position. So he comes up and he basically punches his buddy in the head. So it's like he botched the shit out of a low blow. So, yeah, I mean, there wasn't a lot for me to latch on to in that match. This was the most filler kind of whatever main event ever.
Yeah.
So, on the whole, I mean, it was meh, that SmackDown. Relative to...
I would give it a C.
Yeah, I'd probably do the same. A C or even a C minus. Just because there was so much filler and it didn't really move anything. Like this was the ultimate filler SmackDown. Yeah. So
well, that's pretty much it.
I mean, it really is. I mean, relative to the other things that happened over the weekend, SmackDown is relatively forgettable.
Yes. Oh my god! Don't even get me started. This isn't even the podcast for what we're gonna.
Yeah. So for anybody listening, you've heard our review of SmackDown, and you really should know that of the wrestling that went on this weekend. I mean, obviously AEW's All Out was the thing to watch. and
Oh yeah.
probably also Collision and Rampage, and hopefully we'll have the episodes for those out soon. To that end, I hope you've enjoyed the podcast, and we will see you on the next episode.
Bye-bye.
Go ahead and roll the outro. So for everyone who's been listening, thanks for tuning into this episode of Top Tier Wrestling. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the latest AEW and WWE news and shows. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode, and give us a thumbs up, or otherwise let us know if you liked it. If you didn't like it, you can let us know that too. Follow us on social media for more wrestling updates, behind-the-scenes content, and to join the conversation. Until next time, keep cheering for your favorite wrestlers, and remember, wrestling is always better when it's top tier. See you in the ring.